Hi everybody, welcome out to the Dice Tower. My name is Chris Yi.
Jason Levine, the gaming machine.
And today we're taking a look at a bit of an old... No, this game's almost 30 years old. I can call this an old school Euro game.
This is like back in the days when I was in college.
Right. This is almost as old as Catan, right? El Grande.
Yes.
Spanish for the biggin, I believe is the correct translation.
The total biggin, yep.
Yeah, exactly. This is kind of the first area control game, kind of the granddaddy of them all, right?
Yes.
Wolfgang Kramer and Richard Ulrich are the co-designers of this one. New edition here that just came out this last Essen Spiel, basically. Mm-hmm. Beautiful new edition, I'll just go ahead and say.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah, nice to see a classic game like this getting a better box size. And nicer artwork and everything.
Yes.
But let me show you how this one plays, and then we'll give you our thoughts on it. Here's the setup of El Grande on the table. This is the shared map in the middle. This is an area control game. Players are trying to have the most people, most caballeros, in control of these different areas to score these points. There are 3 scoring phases in the game. That'll take place after 3 action rounds, scoring phase. Scoring phase is explained here. 3 action rounds and then a scoring phase. And after 9 rounds, 3 scoring phases, the game is done. Each player has an available court of caballeros over here in front of them, and then the province over here has all the ones that are not yet available to them, but will be made available. These are action cards over here, which players will be activating during their turn. So what does a turn look like? Starting with the first player, this player is going to place one of these cards out publicly face up for everyone to see. The card that they play is going to tell a little bit of information first. This is initiative number, the 13 being the highest initiative, which guarantees that you'll go first. The other thing you'll see here are caballeros, or meeples here shown, which means that when it's the player's turn, they will gain that many to their available pool, or the court, when they take their turn. But first they simply play out one card, and then the next player clockwise is going to add out a card as well, and each player is going to be placing these out in order to try to choose what order they'll be taking actions in. So red might play the 8. What'll happen is now everyone's going to be taking their turns in this initiative order with the highest card going first. When it's red's turn, they will take 2 of their caballeros from the province over to their court, and then they will choose one of these 5 action cards. Every action card has a top and a bottom. The bottom is how many caballeros they get to place out onto the map, and the top part is a unique action that they will get to choose the timing of and carry out. So, for example, if the red player gained their 2, and then chose this one here, the reinforcement action, it says they can do the top part or the bottom part in either order, so they get to place out 4 caballeros, and they also get to do the top action, which is to take 2 from the province and put it into their available pool. Great for red. This one is discarded. Then they can place, and remember they can do this before or after. So they may just choose to place all 4 of the caballeros here because Toledo is a high-scoring area. Once red is done, then it'll go to the blue player, which is us. We'll take the 3 caballeros and then do whatever action we choose to do. There are lots of effects. Move caballeros around the board, your own or opponents. Choose to score different regions in the middle of gameplay instead of only at these scoring areas here. And then lastly, the most important, this one here is to be able to place out 5 of your caballeros, but the Your Majesty card is the only one in this stack. Normally there's a stack of these that will be changing out each round, but instead of having a changing deck, the number 5 spot here is to move the king. Now, an important facet of the game is that when you place out your caballeros on the board, you can only place them in regions adjacent to the king, so never the ones that are further away from him, and you can never do anything in the region where he is. That region is taboo. The other thing you can do, though, as you're placing out your caballeros for the round, is you can split them up. So maybe I'll choose to put one over here, and then I'll put a few over here to fight for majority. But then I'm also going to be able to drop them into the tower, the Castillo, because this is also a region that will score, and there's another special rule to deal with the tower. So as I said, you have to place adjacent, can't put in his region, but you can also put in the tower. So players will continue taking their turns doing their actions until they have all gone. At the end of that round, the time tracker will advance. Whoever played the lowest card will become first player for the next round, and you just continue playing like this until you get to a scoring phase. Now, let's say during the scoring phase that lots of people have thrown in their people here into the Castillo. The first thing you'll do at scoring phase is every player has one of these wheels here. This is going to determine where all of the people that they dropped in the tower, where these are going to be instantly dropped to. So I'm going to choose to put mine in Granada. Other players have theirs set on different regions. You play these face down, and then you reveal the number of people in the tower itself, and you'll score points here for majorities. In this version of the game, oh, look how cool that is. So we'd look here and say, okay, cool, blue has the most caballeros in there. They'll score 5 points for having the majority. Then it'll be 3 points to red and 1 point to purple. Then we will reveal these. So purple is sending all other people to Sevilla. Red is dropping all their people in Aragon, which is a bad example because you can't do that because the king is there. So they're going to go to Navarra. And then blue chose to drop all their people into Granada. So in this very highly fictitious example here, now we go through scoring of all the different regions. Whoever has the majority gets the bigger number, second place gets the second. Same thing as when you score the Castillo. And you'd go through all these different regions and you would score up. Ties are split one step down. You also get bonuses if you have the majority in a region that shows your Grande, the Grande, the name of the game here. So blue would get 5 points plus a bonus 2. If, through manipulation of moving the king around, a player was able to also be in control of a region where the king had moved to, they'll get the points, plus potentially 2 points for the caballero, potentially 2 extra points for having control of the region where the king is. So this would actually be 8 points to purple. You go through that, and that's scoring. You play 3 more rounds and score, 3 more rounds and score, and that's the basic version of El Grande. There are 3 small modules that come in this game, one of which are these power adjustment cards. So these are your normal power cards, as I showed you earlier, just as this is what comes in the basic game. However, you can also use these. You'll get 3 of these, you'll do a small little draft, you'll pass the players to the left, and these are going to adjust the number of the card that you play by positive or negative 1 or 2. So if someone has already played a 13 this round, you have already played your 12 and it's out of your hand, you could, if you wanted to, do something like this. Make it a 13 minus a 1, ergo it's a 12, and you also get a small little bonus for using that. Or maybe you can take a smaller number and make it higher, but in addition to getting earlier turn order, you are also going to get extra caballeros available to you. So every player is dealt a few of these, and they have just a few special powers and some little adjustments. The second module are just 4 cards that you can deal into their respective decks, and they have older powers that were, I guess, removed from this edition of the game, like preventing someone from doing an entire special action. Things that just felt a little bit more take that, I'm guessing. So these were removed, but optionally you still have them and you can just throw them back in if you want. And the last module here are replacement cards for that card that I told you is consistent in games. You can remove this and instead play with lots of variety of 5 strength action cards here, where these are all going to move the king, as the basic card did, but it's going to do it in different ways. So for example, you can switch the king with a Grande of your choice. Move the king to an adjacent region, throw up to 2 of any caballeros into the Castillo from there. So these just kind of change up the rules a little bit and change the way that you can actually move the king. For example, you can move them into Portugal over here, which was never part of the playable map of the original game, or France in the top right corner, and you can use that as just changing where the king moves, so only places can be moved, only pieces can be placed adjacent to the king. So this just creates the 5th deck acting like the rest of the decks instead of having that standardization here. So those are the 3 modules, and that's El Grande. So for an older game like this, I think we should start just kind of talking about what do we think first about this current printing of it before we go into our thoughts about the game, because we definitely also want to review the game.
Yeah.
But first off, this is such a nice box size.
I think it's great. The original came in a monster box that was almost twice as wide as this and thicker. It came in a huge box, and the map was folded out to this huge thing. And now you have it in your standard Ticket to Ride size box, which makes a big difference for shelf space alone.
Shelf space, it just seems more modern. It feels more modern. It looks great. I do like this color scheme. People accuse me of enjoying beige games. Well, I do.
I'm on the beige train, too. I think beige is a great color for games.
Right. But I still think that this feels modern and fresh while paying homage to the fact that it's an older game about an older time period in history. But I think the most controversial choice here is that they changed that gigantic king pawn.
Yes. It now looks like this cutout king, but it looks cute. I like the new one. I think it's even nicer than the pawn.
I think people like the pawn a little bit just because it was such a quirky, odd piece that didn't always look very good. But no, so yeah, replacing cubes with meeples in this edition. Just all these little things that are a bit more modern, but not over the top, which I personally really appreciate.
Me too, especially the Castillo, because in the original, the Castillo didn't have a bottom, so if you actually bumped it, everything would fall out, or if you lifted it up by accident, you'd see everything. Here, it's got a bottom, and until you lift that little gate, then everything plops out. It's definitely a much better piece for the Castillo than the original.
And it didn't need to have a drawbridge type gate thing, but they put a little zinger in there. And you know what? It's okay for even stuffy old Euro games to have that little bit of toy factor.
Yes.
And gosh, that's fun when you just open up the floodgate and you see the pieces. Blah! You're like, okay, how many of which, who won the Castillo and everything? This is a great game.
Yes.
This is a great game. Nearly 30 years old and inspired clearly a lot of area control games. You can see the map control and stuff from Ethnos, and you can see how other games clearly took what this game did. But does it still feel like it holds up in today's market?
It definitely does. It definitely does feel like it holds up. There is the same thing that I thought years ago, where there's random luck on which cards flip out each turn. So you have to hope that the right cards flip out when you want to play your high 13 or play your low 1, and you're hoping for the best card to flip out of the deck. So there is some randomness in it, but I think it definitely does hold up.
This is a game that's gonna put you in a rough situation. You might choose some really good cards for when you're picking the initiative and make sure that you have enough units, caballeros available to place out, and then like you said, you get that reveal of the cards and you're like, man, that's not what I wanted. Or
yes.
I guess you do see the lineup, to be clear, before you pick the initiative cards, but knowing that in one round, if you pick the lowest, you'll get first pick the next round, that can be huge. And then sometimes that reveal of cards comes out and you go, well...
I didn't want to be first with this set.
Yeah, it's weird that sometimes you desperately want to be first. You need control of what's about to happen. And then other times you go... I would love to have been last.
Yes, exactly. Sometimes you're like, ugh, why did I play that 1 to be forced to play the 13, and this 13 just does not work for me because this other card is going to wreck all of my plans.
That, I think, is, for me, where this game shows its age the most, is that random lineup of cards that are on the side. Because I think that the game gives you a lot of control. The initiative cards are really clever and making sure that you have enough resources available at all given times and stuff. And then what you did one turn might kind of come undone the next turn because one of the event cards out there, one of the action cards says, return a bunch of people's available caballeros to their supply, to the province. And you're like, oh, well, by luck, something undid what I did last turn. And it's a little bit unforgiving in that sense. If someone is winning very strongly on the map, you have to try to work and claw and bring them down. And it kind of has that old school sensibility to it, as it is an older game.
Yes, and there was a King and Intriguant expansion that had come out for the original game that mitigated that because all of your cards have collecting the caballeros and the action, and everyone gets the same actions throughout the game, and you decide when you want to play which action. And I'm really hopeful that they'll add that to this, because I thought that cleaned up the luck of the flip.
And I'm surprised that they didn't put that in this one. It is a lot of extra cards to print out for a variant that maybe not a lot of people played. But I've heard good things about that one. I'm surprised. There's a few small modules in here that I think are welcome. Mm-hmm. I think they're nice, and they're not overblown. That's kind of the theme of this review of this game is They did a nice job modernizing it. They left those wrinkles in it because people still want the classic El Grande game.
Yes.
I have those little gripes with it that, like I said, make it feel still like the old game, an old game. But it is also kind of what's great about this.
Mm-hmm.
The new modules that they put in here, or the ones that are extra, are a few extra cards
for the king. Which lets you not just put the king in a region. Now you could bounce the king to the Castillo, or you could switch the king with the Grande, and you could do all sorts of things with the king, and every king card becomes different, just like every other 4-3-2-1 becomes different each round. The king card can be different each round as well.
And I like that, I like that variety, but it's not something I'm going to be playing with all the time, because I do like the fact out of 4 random cards, one of them is steady. One of them is something that you know what it's going to do, and you know how to work with it. And everyone also has that equal information, which I think adds a lot to the mind game of it. That being said, some of those king effects are super cool.
They're really cool. They're really cool.
Yeah. Those are fun to throw in. A few extra cards for the other decks, and then the power changing cards.
Yes.
That's also kind of just like a really small but neat little addition.
Yeah, it adds you could lower or raise your value to end up going first in a turn or last in a turn, and you have a few little powers that you could affect yourself or other players with. So it's like an extra little power in there, but you only have a couple and you have to decide when to use them in the game. They put in a few mini expansions just to give you a little more.
If you own the original, or like the big box of the original, I don't think you need this, right? Because like that new content is super minimal.
Yeah.
But if you're someone who's wanting to hunt down this game for a while and you don't want to pay egregious amounts of money and have this kind of inconvenient box size and it's old, this is a phenomenal reprint.
Yes, it definitely is, and it's definitely worth getting if you're looking for a streamlined modern version.
For me, score-wise, it almost feels silly but we are reviewing this, right? But score-wise, I'm giving this one an 8, and it is, as I play El Grande more, inching more and more up in score, but it's an 8 for me. I have so much fun with it. I like area control when it's clever and when it's clean, and when you have a lot of interesting, tense moments, and this just provides that continuously. 90 minutes is probably about right, maybe a little bit longer with more players. And it does still have a little bit of that feel to me where it's aged a bit, but I like that. I like coming to games that do feel older. So it's an 8 for me. I think very highly of this one.
For me, I'm going to go even better. I'm giving it a 9. It's a game that I rate very highly. I've played it many times over the years, and every time I come back to it, I enjoy the experience. I think with the new version, which we obviously just played, it brings that same experience. It brings the same feel. Yes, if you're in the lead, you're going to get pounded like I did, but it's okay. It's the kind of game where you expect that you're going to get your pieces thrown around the board. And, that's what makes it great, is you just know that there is a lot of area control. There is a lot of take that, but you have to go in with the mindset that I know I'm just going to get beat up along the way and hope for the best.
Yeah, this is a great game, and with a high score of a 9 in this review, we're giving this one a seal of excellence. I think, like I said, this is a fantastic reprint. Happy to see this one back available in the wild. So if you're looking for a game that gives you that classic feel, highly recommend it. Mm-hmm. All right, thanks for coming out to this review. Until next time, my name is Chris Yi.
Jason Levine, the gaming machine.
Have fun playing games.
Hey folks, thanks for watching another one of our videos. If you like our videos, if you like our channel, you would love to game with us at one of our conventions. Check out Dice Tower Cruise, Dice Tower East, and Dice Tower West. Fantastic conventions where we play games with wonderful people, a humongous library, and lots of other events and stuff. Also, don't forget to check out our channel, like and subscribe. I'm Tom Bassel.
Have fun playing games.
Yep.
What do you think I was going to say? What did you think I was going to say?
I thought you were going to say have fun trouncing people in Spain.
Let's try that. Have fun trouncing people in Spain. That doesn't feel good.
No.